Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai. So we are in the Damodar month, and last year we discussed Damodar at this time. And now we're going to do it again, but not as elaborately, because this class is just once a week, and I believe I was doing it every evening last year. So what I decided we would do is we would read from the Bhagavatam. And we would read from the Bhagavatam, and then I have the commentary here. This is commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. That'll give us some more insight. So, if you go to the 10th canto, if you want to read along, if you go to the 10th canto, and you go to the first verse, not the summary. I'm not going to read the summary, we're going to read the first verse, and then I am also going to read the commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now, Prabhupada used this commentary and other commentaries, so what we read in the purport may also be found here. So, it's purports, yeah. And Prabhupada used the commentaries of many acharyas. So, we're going to use this. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can become absorbed in the Leela of Damodar. So, if you want to read along, we're reading from the 10th canto. It's the 9th chapter. This chapter is entitled Mother Yasoda Binds Lord Krishna. And we're beginning with verses 1 and 2. Well, actually, we should get some history here. And the history is that there were two sons of Kuvera. Kuvera is the treasure of the demigods, and their names were Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. And Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. Actually, this class is for Australia. And they told me to give it at this time, but I don't see anybody from Australia on here, which makes me concerned. So, give me a moment. I have to go to my WhatsApp. And by going to WhatsApp, I could lose you. If I lose you, I will come back. Okay, we're resuming. All right. Anyway, we'll give the class, and we'll see what happens. You're here. I guess you got the message. I don't know, maybe you've got today's Tuesday, yes. Maybe she thinks it's Wednesday, I don't know. So now I was thinking this morning of this problem Nala Kuvera and Manigriva had. They were sons of someone very wealthy. I had some friends who had, I guess their parents gave them too much money, and two of them ended up overdosing on drugs and killing themselves. So it's true that and other people complain that they were raised with too much wealth, and as a result, they blame their parents for allowing them to have too much money because it caused them to become degraded. So, one of the lessons of this story is how we become degraded, how wealth can degrade us, and in this case it degraded Nala Kuvera. But somehow or other, Narada Muni was very merciful to Nala Kuvera Manigriva. And you might ask, why was he merciful? Was there a reason? And really the only reason we can find is that he decided to take compassion on them. Also, you could say because they were sons of Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, they should have acted differently, and you could say it reflected badly on their father. Whatever the reason is, it wasn't, we could say a sort of logical reason, that they, in the sense that they deserved it, that they had done something, some past devotional service and just were deviating. It was totally Narada Muni's mercy, and so the idea here is when a devotee is merciful, especially a devotee on that level, and he asks Krishna to intervene, and Krishna will intervene, even there's no reason. And in the commentaries there, as I remember, it said there wasn't any reason other than the desire of Narada Muni. So the lesson there is if you somehow get the mercy of a pure devotee, that pure devotee is kind on you, then you're fortunate. And if that pure devotee prays for you, prays to Krishna to show his mercy on you, it's going to happen. So that's what happened. Now, Krishna is being bound by Mother Yasoda, and that whole Leela was to enhance the love of Mother Yasoda and to enhance the love of Krishna for Mother Yasoda. But as you probably know, Krishna often does many things in one Leela. So he also, in this Leela, was blessing Nalagovira Griva because that's what Narada Muni wanted. So that's why those two were involved in the Leela. Otherwise, the Leela is complete in itself, but then Krishna thought we can involve them in the Leela also. So, again, if you can get the mercy of a pure devotee, as we say in America, you're good to go. You're on your way back to Godhead. It's a real blessing. So, that's something to be noted in this Leela, for sure. Yeah, something to be noted. Okay, so I'm going to read the first verse, and then we will read the commentary by Vishwanath. We'll read Prabhupada's purport, and we'll read the commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is verses 1 and 2 of the ninth chapter of the 10th canto. One day, when Mother Yasoda saw that the maidservants were engaged in other household affairs, she personally began to churn the yogurt. While churning, she remembered the childish activities of Krishna. And in her own way, she composed songs and enjoyed singing by herself about all those activities. So now Prabhupada's quoting Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and we're going to be reading. So it's going to be interesting because we're going to read, we're going to see how Prabhupada, if he quotes directly or he paraphrases or how he explains Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, we're going to see that. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, quoting from the Vaishnava Toshani of Srila Sanatana Goswami, says that the incident of Krishna's breaking the pot of yogurt and being bound by Mother Yasoda took place on the Deepavali day, or Deepa Malika. Even today in India, this festival is generally celebrated very gorgeously in the month of Kartika by fireworks and lights, especially in Bombay. It is to be understood that among all the cows of Nanda Maharaj, several of Mother Yasoda's cows ate only grasses so flavorful that the grasses would automatically flavor the milk for Krishna. In other words, she had some special cows that she fed special grasses to, and those were the cows where the only Krishna would take that milk. That's a good mother, right? Mother Yasoda wanted to collect milk from these cows, make it into yogurt, and churn it into butter personally, since she thought that this child Krishna was going to the houses of neighborhood gopas and gopis to steal butter, because he did not like the milk and yogurt ordinarily prepared. That's actually not true. That was Krishna's Leela, but it's true Krishna liked butter and yogurt, yes, and he liked to feed it to the monkeys. It's not that he didn't like Yasoda's, but anyway, Yasoda thought like this, so she made special butter and yogurt. Now, I don't know if you know, but you can experiment this. If you get some real cow's milk from a real cow. I don't know if you have any real cows in your country. Those are the cows with the humps. That's what I call real cows. And you get some milk from them, and make sure those cows weren't fed lots of, or any antibiotics or hormones or this or that. And you take that yogurt and you churn it. And you could actually churn it in a food processor. And it's going to separate into butter and yogurt. I don't know if you knew that. Excuse me. It will separate into buttermilk and butter. So you'll have this liquid, which is buttermilk, and then you'll have butter. And you can try that. That would be real butter. It's not yellow, because milk is not yellow. Did you know they color butter? Well, you know now. Yeah, amongst other things. Okay, we'll read on. While churning the butter, Mother Yasoda was singing about the childhood activities of Krishna. It was formerly a custom that if one wanted to remember something constantly, he would transform it into poetry or have this done by a professional poet. It appears that Mother Yasoda did not want to forget Krishna's activities at any time. Therefore, she poeticized all of Krishna's childhood activities, such as the killing of Putana, Aghasura, Shaktasura, and Trinabharta. And while churning the butter, she sang about these activities in poetical form. This should be the practice of persons eager to remain Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. This incident shows how Krishna conscious Mother Yasoda was. To stay in Krishna consciousness, we should follow such persons. So Prabhupada is recommending this process, that you can write poems or songs, and you can sing about Krishna's Leelas. We don't have this practice so much in, it hasn't been evolved so much in ISKCON that we would, because most of us don't speak Sanskrit or Bengali. Those are the main languages of our, obviously the Vedas and our bhajans, most were. Yeah, we have some in Hindi. You may have some in Tamil or your local language. But in English, I mean local Indian language, but in English, it's not common. So here Prabhupada is giving you authorization. If you want to write a poem about Krishna's Leela and you want to sing it in your own language, naturally, you would sing it in a language you understand, otherwise you couldn't write the poem in the first place. Although you might say, but poems have been written, but they're written generally in the form of verses from Bhagavatam. So anyway, if you're interested in glorifying Krishna, as of course we glorify Krishna in our own language, we give class in our own language, but somehow or other the writing of, the recitation of poetry is a little more common than the recitation of song, somehow because we sing in Sanskrit and Bengali, I think. We feel that that's the sacred language to sing in, and there hasn't been I haven't seen a lot of rendering of Krishna's Leelas poetically into vernacular, that means your local language, in music, in song. So you're authorized to do that in this verse, and you're actually encouraged to do it. So it's something to think about. Now let's read the fine print here. I have to put on my glasses. Wait a minute. I have to look at this verse again because it seems different. This is very interesting because what it says for the translation, correct, okay. So in the commentary they're using Prabhupada's translation, and this is the purport. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, this chapter describes how Krishna stopped Yasoda from churning yogurt in order to drink her breast milk. He's giving some history. In verse 1, Krishna became angry because he had not finished drinking. He broke the churning pot, stole the butter, and was bound by Mother Yasoda. It's a summary. That's not what the verse says. It says that she began. So this is interesting, why he says this. Krishna became angry. So it looks like he's giving a summary here. Krishna became angry because he was not finished drinking. So he broke, in other words, as a reminder of the Leela, Mother Yasoda took to churning, took to the duties of the maidservants. And here it's described churning butter and churning butter, but she was also boiling milk. So she was not able to totally attend to Krishna, and she left Krishna while she was breastfeeding him, and she then went to turn the pot off. So he felt neglected, he became angry, he broke the pots, and he had a temper tantrum, so to speak, which was, just so you know, if you're not clear, that whatever Krishna does that appears ordinarily human, he's doing it to increase the love of his devotees. And so that's what's going on. So here, there's a quotation, and I don't know who's quoting. You bind up the people who are engulfed in theft, anger, and other low qualities and make them cry. Now you have become implicated in theft, overwhelmed with anger, and bound up by Yasoda, and are crying. So the tides have turned now. But Krishna is doing this voluntarily, for sure, as we said. Let's continue reading. The most astonishing and uncommon parental love, Vatsalya Prema, wherein Krishna became the object, Vishaya, and Nanda and Yasoda were the shelter, Ashraya, must have been the result of a most extraordinary and unparalleled form of sadhana. Parikshit had asked the question to Sukadeva Goswami, but the story of Drona and Dara did not reveal such extraordinary sadhana. Seeing that Parikshit was not too pleased, Sukadeva Goswami told him about Krishna's Damodar-lila to give the real answer. Krishna had, Yasoda, Devaki and Vasudeva were parents, but so were Yasoda and Nanda. And so apparently there's some confusion about these parents. And the extraordinary position of Yasoda and Nanda was not revealed. And so now what Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is saying is in the Leela you will see the extraordinary position of Yasoda and Nanda. Seeing that Parikshit was not too pleased, Sukadeva Goswami told him about Krishna's Damodar-lila to give the real answer to Parikshit's question. The question was, what past auspicious activities did Yasoda and Nanda perform to achieve the perfection of getting Krishna as their son? So, this is one example. On the Deepavali day, the festival of lighting ghee lamps, Yasoda began churning yogurt for Krishna's pleasure. She became absorbed in thought how from among her husband's countless cows there were 7 or 8 who were as rare as a horse, with one black ear, who ate the most fragrant grass, who gave the tastiest fragrant milk for the satisfaction of her son. Good mother, right? She's a good mother. Yasoda personally churned because she wanted to make special butter for her son. How could her servants, who often burn the milk, do this properly? Driven by stubbornness arising from Vatsalya Prema, Yasoda concluded that others could not do the job properly. From that day forward, Yasoda resolved that she would prepare all Krishna's buttermilk and other edibles. They would be so tasty that Krishna would no longer go to the house of others to steal, as Prabhupada had quoted from this commentary. Yasoda was churning the best yogurt from among countless samples that had been prepared the day before with her own hands. So now, we read verse 1 and 2, and Vishwanath Chakravarti is separating verse 1 and 2. So David says, I am a parent, but I cannot see my son as the mother is disturbed and not disposed to it. He must be a blessing nonetheless. Well, Krishna, you have to understand Krishna's Leela, this Leela especially, but all of Krishna's Leelas, with any of his devotees, whatever he does, even if he has a temper tantrum, even if he breaks pots, it's all being arranged by Yoga Maya. This is interesting also. Yoga Maya arranges Krishna's Leela. And so sometimes the question comes, well, Leela means voluntary activity, so it would appear that Krishna is doing all this consciously, but sometimes Yoga Maya causes Krishna to act in a way that Krishna forgets his position, so he's just acting like a little boy. And he's doing his temper tantrum, and he's quote-unquote lost control. But that losing of control is all preordained and planned by Yoga Maya, so that it would bind Yasoda in love, increasingly bind Yasoda in love. So at least we have to understand the background of Krishna Lila, that it's Krishna acting like an ordinary boy. It's all calculated. Because he is the supreme, but sometimes he allows that supremacy to be covered so he can spontaneously act in the Lila. But that Lila is solely for the pleasure. Well, I wouldn't say for the pleasure, yes, for the pleasure, but it's solely to increase the love of Yasoda. So Katie's asking how to be a mother like Yasoda. Well, it's not actually that Yasoda is ever, to my knowledge, I mean, you could use her as an example of a good mother, but it's like totally different. It's not that her example is the example of a pure devotee. And a mother it's really secondary to, that's just the rasa that she's in. So it manifests as a mother, but it could manifest, if she were in another rasa, it would manifest in a different way. So in one sense you could say the gopis are the best girlfriends, Yasoda's the best mother, the cowherd boys are the best friends. And yes, that's true, but it's not what they're teaching. They're teaching how to love Krishna. Not necessarily they're teaching how to be a good mother in the material world. Although if you want, you can take that. But I don't know if it's necessary to have your own cows and make your own butter for your child. That would be nice, but if you have other service and you could get your butter at the store, you don't really need to make it. That's also okay. Although now you can't really get good butter. But that's just, you understand it's a principle. Assuming you could get just as good as butter at the store and you had a lot of service, we wouldn't say, well, Mother Yasoda personally made her butter for Krishna, so that's an example of what a good mother is and I should follow it. It's an example of love. It's an example, so we're supposed to see it in that way. It's a manifestation of her pure love in bhakti, which is different than the love you would have for your children, because our love for our children is still, I don't want to use the word contaminated, but still governed by some bodily attachment. Where Mother Yasoda's love is not bodily attachment, it's pure. It's prema, unadulterated prema. So that's what we're supposed to understand. So I'm going to read verse 2, because it was separated, but there's no purport there. But we read verse 1 and 2 together. Here's verse 2. The ladies of Braja poeticized all of Krishna's childhood activities. Having collected all these songs, Mother Yasoda began to sing these songs in order to pacify her longing to see Krishna, who was sleeping in another room. So, this is the example. This is really the example we want to... You see, when you're looking at Yasoda, what you're not really looking at her as a mother, you're looking at her as a pure devotee. And it's just coming out in this rasa. But that's what you're looking at, to understand what is pure devotional service. And if you are in relationship to Krishna, if you're advanced enough to know that you're in this rasa, then you would follow in the footsteps of Mother Yasoda. It would have a different position for you. Mother Yasoda's Leelas would be, now you're trying to understand her mood and her love, because that's kind of love, particularly that you're being called from within the heart, or guided by some rasic guru to develop. But generally it would be on a more advanced stage, you would feel a very strong inclination to the motherly or fatherly parental lila. And then Yasoda or Nanda would be your icon, so to speak, your idol. and you would now try to enter into their moods. That's the idea. So, you can ask questions along the way, because I'm going to keep reading. Get a little bit into the pastime. Dressed, this is text 3, dressed in a saffron yellow sari, with a belt tied about her full hips, Mother Yasoda pulled on the churning rope, laboring considerably, her bangles and earrings moving and vibrating, and her whole body shaking. Because of her intense love for her child, her breasts were wet with milk. Her face, with its very beautiful eyebrows, was wet with perspiration, and malati flowers were falling from her hair. So this verse is describing the hard labor of love. And Ganapati, welcome back. I hope you don't run away again. Nice to have you. It's pretty early for you. It's like 3 something, right? Oh, 4:45. For you must be 4:45. Hare Krishna. Let's read the purport. Anyone who desires to be Krishna conscious in motherly affection or parental affection should contemplate the bodily features of Mother Yasoda. It is not that one should desire to become like Yasoda, for this is Mayavad, either in parental affection or conjugal love, friendship or servitorship. In any way, we must follow in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, not try to become like them. Therefore, this description is provided here. Advanced devotees must cherish the description, always thinking of Mother Yasoda's features, how she was dressed, how she was working and perspiring, how beautifully the flowers were arranged in her hair, and so on. One should take advantage of the full description provided here by thinking of Mother Yasoda in maternal affection of Krishna. So, Prabhupada's clarifying, you're not going to become Yasoda, but you're going to, as we said, understand the mood, the feelings. If you're in parental rasa and you want to be in that mood of mother, if you're advanced enough to have that inclination very strongly, so it's very clear that that's the rasa you want to develop, then here this meditation is there for you, for Yasoda. But anyone can meditate on Yasoda's love in general. It doesn't mean if you're not in this rasa you can't meditate on it. But particularly those in Vatsalya rasa will do as it's described here. But we're not, Prabhupada's making the point, no, we're not going to replace Yasoda. That would be Mayavad. The mood of Yasoda, that's what we want. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. This verse presents the ideal of motherly affection for Krishna. Anyone interested in cultivating Vatsalya Bhav, parental love, should meditate upon the bodily form, qualities, features, and affections of Mother Yasoda. Prabhupada quoted that exactly, right? Isn't it? Anyone who desires to be here. This is what Prabhupada says. Anyone interested to be Krishna conscious in motherly affection, motherly affection or parental affection should contemplate the bodily features of Mother Yasoda. Vishwanath Chakravarti says, this verse presents the ideal of motherly affection. Anyone interested in cultivating Vatsalya, parental love, should meditate upon the bodily form, qualities, features, and affection of Mother Yasoda described here. So you've got directly what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said. Prabhupada is saying also that Yasoda's yellow sari, shaumam, was very fine, being made from fibers of the atasa tree. According to the Krama Dipika, Yasoda's complexion was blackish. She wore a belt around her full hips while churning the butter. The beauty of all Yasoda's limbs is indicated just by mentioning her wide hips, moving eyebrows, and tinkling bangles. Her arms, tired from churning, and her sweating face both shone. Malati flowers fell like drops of rain from Yasoda's beautiful hair, which was blacker than a rain cloud. So obviously, Yasoda's beauty is indescribable, and we don't have experience of that kind of beauty. And how can you describe beauty that you've never seen before? It's difficult to imagine, but all we can do is multiply the most beautiful of all beauty, of human beauty we've seen, multiply it many, many, many fold, and we get some glimpse of the beauty of Yasoda. As far as Yasoda's love is concerned, we learned, or we discussed last year, that Mother Yasoda's feelings of separation and love that were manifest in this lila were said to be on the stage of Mahabhav, and there are various stages of Mahabhav. You get Mahabhav in a lower stage, as far as I remember, and then there's a higher stage of Mahabhav in Prema, in higher stages of Prema. And generally it is said that that is only reserved for Radharani, and Mahaprabhu exhibited this also. But in the commentaries of the Acharyas, it's said that Yasoda's Mahabhav was Radharani's Mahabhav, and Yasoda's separation and love was equal to Radharani's. And generally we hear that nothing can compare with Radharani's love, and here it's saying Yasoda's love is compared to Radharani's love, so certainly her beauty and everything about her is very special. Yes. Ganapati's he's a writer and he's a comic also. He's forever running away and forever coming back. That's his story. That's why we made this CD, We Are Forever. Right? Yes. What's the difference between Krishna as Ladu Gopal and Damodar? Well, I have some bad news for all of you. The Vallabha Sampradaya, they worship Ladu Gopal. That's their main deity. Apparently they're trying to cultivate Vatsalya Rasa. Gaudiya Vaishnavas actually don't worship Ladu Gopal. You've never seen Ladu Gopal on any altar in ISKCON, have you? And I know devotees, especially Gujaratis, I believe, or anyway, people who were in Krishna consciousness before coming to Krishna, they will have an attraction for Ladu Gopal if they're coming in that line. But Prabhupada never established Ladu Gopal. And even though, it's interesting, even though Prabhupada says you can cultivate Krishna consciousness in any one of four rasas, and he describes, if you want to cultivate Vatsalya Rasa, you follow in the footsteps of Yasoda or Nanda. But he never installed the worship of Ladu Gopal. So, Damodar, when we say Damodar, that's Krishna as a boy being bound by Yasoda. It's a particular lila. When you say Ladu Gopal, that's baby Krishna, who likes who somehow or other that deity became immortalized of Krishna eating ladus. Actually, I don't know why. Because it was never something Prabhupada was focused on. But so it doesn't mean we can't cultivate a relationship with Krishna in Vatsalya Rasa. Prabhupada says we can. But Prabhupada introduced the worship of Krishna Balaram and the worship of Radha Krishna Gaur-Nitai. It's interesting. Of course, we worship Damodar, but it doesn't mean that because we're worshiping Damodar, we're all trying to cultivate Vatsalya Prema. We're glorifying the love between Yasoda and Krishna. That's the essence. So Damodar means one who's bound by the belly. So Ladu Gopal is baby Krishna in all his manifestations or all his leelas. Of course, this Ladu Gopal, it's kind of like Krishna likes ladus, okay. It's kind of like immortalizing Krishna as eating ladus because he holds a ladu in his hand. But as far as I know, that deity particularly is worshipped by the Vallabha Sampradaya, who was cultivating that rasa. And Prabhupada established Radha and Krishna, so he wanted us to focus on Radha and Krishna. Now, even though maybe your eternal Leela is not in conjugal love, but still conjugal love nourishes all the other Leelas, and that's the focus of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and generally most Gaudiya Vaishnavas are cultivating, or at least focused on Madhurya Leela. Ladu Gopal is a baby, Damodar, a toddler, maybe. Forget how old Krishna is in this Leela. I don't know that Ladu Gopal has an age, to tell you the truth. It's just that it's nothing, Prabhupada didn't introduce it. And go into the no Gaudiya Vaishnava temples, worship Ladu Gopal. So I can't say much more than that about it because we were never educated in that. And that does say something that Prabhupada had us focus on. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaura-Nitai, Panchatattva, well, Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna, so there you have Radha and Krishna. And you have Nityananda's associates who are cowherd boys, so the cowherd pastimes are also very prominent. Krishna Balaram. Our temple is in Ramanreti, that's where Krishna and the cowherd boys played. There's been some debate. Did Prabhupada establish Krishna Balaram? Because his rasa is Sakya rasa, his eternal rasa is Sakya rasa, and not Madhurya. Well, Prabhupada never told us what his rasa is. He said it wasn't necessary, and I think that would be maybe a bit of unnecessary speculation. And Prabhupada said most of our acharyas, if not, predominantly are in Madhurya Ras. And Krishna Balaram played in Ramanreti, and so we understand Prabhupada established Krishna Balaram in the place where they played, and it was also a unique contribution. But he didn't just establish Krishna Balaram. He established Radha Shyama-Sundar, but he put Krishna Balaram in the center of that temple. We could also say that makes that temple unique, and in the light of the strategy of spreading Krishna consciousness, uniqueness is also valuable. So, what's the eternal age of Sri Chaitanya Prabhu? In his eternal Leela, I would have to investigate that. I would say younger than 24. I don't know in his eternal Leela he takes sannyas. He took sannyas at 24. My gut intuition is that as an eternal Leela, it's pre-sannyas Leela. And as a young boy, Krishna, we know his eternal age is around 16. That's a good age. So I've never, maybe somebody knows, authoritatively I've never read that, but in Krishna's eternal Leelas, in Navadvip, the eternal Navadvip, the eternal Mayapur, he's doing Harinam. Most likely that's what they do. That's that Leela. Not most likely, that's what they do. And I imagine him as a youth with beautiful long hair, dancing in ecstasy. Anyway, you'll find out when you get there how old he is. Well, of course, age doesn't mean anything. It's just we're calculating it according to what it seems to be. But of course, if we say Krishna's eternally 16, it's not. It looks like he's 16. I think that's what you mean. So, okay. I don't know if I'm going to get to Krishna House. I used to come to Krishna House because I was traveling in that area, and then I heard that management in New Vrindavan has changed. They sometimes invite me. So if I come to New Vrindavan, then we will make our best effort to visit Columbus. And you can ask Prem to invite me. So would you like to read some more? Because if we don't do Damodar every day like we did, I believe we were doing it every day. Maybe we weren't. I think we were. Because we were doing it every day, we got through the Leelas quite well. So this is text 4. While Mother Yasoda was churning butter, Lord Krishna desired to drink the milk of her breast. Lord Krishna, desiring to drink the milk of her breast, appeared before her, and in order to increase her transcendental pleasure, he caught hold of the churning rod and began to prevent her from churning. So he was hungry, and she was churning, so he's pulling. As kids do, right? He's pulling on the rod. Radha Priya was asking a question. All right, let's go back. Soda's an expansion of Radharani. Gopis are expansions of Radharani. That means those in Madhurya Rasa are expansions of Radharani. Durga is an external expansion of Radharani. I can't answer that question. I don't want to mislead you. Top of my head, I've never read that. It's not impossible that all gopis in Vrindavan, whatever rasa they're in, are expansions of Radharani. That would make sense. But even though it makes sense, it may not be authoritative. And I don't have an authoritative answer at this point. If we say all gopis in Vrindavan, well, Yasoda's a gopi, but she's not in Madhurya Rasa. Would that include her? It seems like it would. And all gopis are expansions of Radharani. So, but I would have to get some, I don't want to say yes. I don't want to speculate yes. I would have to get some authoritative information, unless one of you out there has authoritative information. My gut feeling is, yeah, that makes sense. But part of me says, it doesn't make sense because it's a different rasa. A part of me says, all the gopas and all the gopis are expansions, so that would include those in a different rasa. And part of me says, because it's in a different rasa, it doesn't make sense. But you could ask, are all the coward women expansions of Yasoda? That, in my mind, makes more sense. But without authoritative answer, I can't say right now. That would require some. Some of the 6 Goswamis are Manjaris. So, but some, yeah. Well, they're all Manjaris. So, yes. Because they're Manjaris, they're expansions of Radha. But, as Prabhupada would say, sometimes these questions are not really that important. Or maybe they're important, but they're not important now. Because we're just trying to get up in the morning and chant our rounds. So, but I think that one thing that's significant is what we were describing before, that the love that Yasoda had was almost equivalent to the love of Radha. So in that sense, you could say Yasoda was an expansion. Radha expanded her love, and Yasoda had the love of Radha, which is more important. And if she had that love, then you could say she's an expansion. Or you could say, and this is total speculation, that she couldn't have that love unless she is an expansion. But whether or not that's the case, she had the love, and that's what's important. And maybe one of you can investigate, or we all can investigate. Okay. There's a purport here. Prabhupada does not have a purport with Vishwanath Chakravarti. Oh. No, Prabhupada does have a purport. Krishna was sleeping within the room, and as soon as he got up, he became hungry and went to his mother. Wanting to stop her from churning and drink the milk of her breast, he stopped her from moving the churning rod. Let's see what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. Krishna started crying from hunger upon waking in the morning. Leaving his room, Krishna approached Yasoda and held the churning rod to indicate she should stop churning and attend to him. Yasoda's bliss increased unlimitedly upon perceiving Krishna's cleverness. Now, one thing, Yogamaya does not have a material body. One thing to understand here is that when Yasoda is away from Krishna, in other words, like she is churning butter and Krishna's just in the other room sleeping, she's experiencing very intense separation. And you might think, well, you would think separation would come, well, let's say Krishna goes to Mathura, okay, then there's separation, he's gone, but how do you feel separation from someone who's sleeping in the next room, like 15 feet away from you? Well, she would. Unless she was seeing Krishna personally, she was feeling separation. Even Krishna was 15 feet away and awake, and she could see him down the hallway, she was feeling separation. Interesting, huh? That's love. I mean, most parents, I don't know any parents who would feel that intensity of love. And sometimes parents feel relief when their children go to sleep. They don't feel separation, they feel relief. Oh, finally my child's asleep, I can sleep or I can get something done. But when Krishna's asleep or Krishna's playing in the other room, Mother Yasoda feels intense separation. Isn't that interesting? You know, you can see, you just look down the room, like I have another room here. Okay, we'll show you my other room. Well, the door's closed. Let's see, there's a room there, right? So imagine Krishna, we're in that other room. And the door's closed, and now I'm feeling intense separation because Krishna's not with me. That means the love is very intense. And generally in this world, that kind of love is not seen. Or if that kind of love is seen, it's usually kind of a crazy love, that the person who has that love is crazy. I've seen that. I've heard stories of people who go crazy in love, but they're not emotionally stable people generally. So it might seem, no, I've seen that kind of separation in this world. No. Yeah, but that person was probably not stable or became unstable emotionally. It wasn't, or maybe it was due to intense lust. But whatever the case, it's interesting to note that she could be feeling separation even though Krishna's a little bit away. So now we're going to read text 5. Mother Yasoda then embraced Krishna, allowed him to sit down on her lap, and began to look upon the face of the Lord with great love and affection. So immediately, there's like, no question, just wait, I've got to finish churning. No, Mother Yasoda could not refuse Krishna. Because of her intense affection, milk was flowing from her breast. But when she saw that the milk pan on the oven was boiling over, she immediately left her son to take care of the overflowing milk, although the child was not yet fully satisfied with drinking the milk of his mother's breast. As far as I understand the story, she sat down and she was away from the kitchen. It was about 15 feet away. So she was breastfeeding Krishna, but then she saw or heard or both the milk overflowing. And later on, we found out in the commentaries, and maybe we'll read them, and I'll spoil it for you now, but just in case we don't read it, I will tell you that the milk was a person, and the milk wanted to feed Krishna, and the milk was thinking, well, Krishna's going to be fed with Mother Yasoda's breast, then Krishna won't want my milk, so I'll boil over, so Yasoda will have to come and then and then there the milk is ready, and she can feed him my milk also, and she won't have overfed him her breast milk. So these other leelas are going on along the side. So that many things are happening. The milk is a person. This is the spiritual world. Okay, there's a purport here. Everything in the household affairs of Mother Yasoda was meant for Krishna. Although Krishna was drinking the breast milk of Mother Yasoda, when she saw that the milk pan in the kitchen was overflowing, she had to take care of it immediately. So Krishna was upset that she stopped feeding him, but she was only doing that to serve him because that milk was his also. So in that sense, she didn't do anything wrong, even though he became upset. She had to take care of it immediately, and thus she left her son, who then became very angry, not having been fully satisfied with drinking the milk of her breast. Sometimes one must take care of more than one item of important business for the same purpose. Therefore, Mother Yasoda was not unjust when she left her son to take care of the overflowing milk. On the platform of love and affection, it is the duty of the devotee to do one thing first and other things later. The proper intuition, which to do this is given by Krishna. So this is an answer to a question you might have is, how do I know if I should do this first? Or how do I even know if I should do this at all? Here's your answer. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhiyogam yena tam upayanti. Yena mam upayanti te. Excuse me. In Krishna consciousness, everything is dynamic. Krishna guides the devotee in what to do first, what to do next, on the platform of absolute truth. So, Prabhupada comes to America, it's a new country, he's starting a new movement, it's never been done before. He's taking guidance from Krishna. Excuse me. He's taking guidance from Krishna how to do everything. I need water, and there's no water. We will suffer through it, Prabhus, together we will suffer through it. Let's see what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. Vishwanath Chakravarti, quote, "Oh, how intelligent," this is Yasoda thinking, "oh, and how intelligent this child is." Saying this, Yasoda stopped churning and put Krishna on her lap to feed him her breast milk. But why did Mother Yasoda suddenly get up to leave? She got up to attend to the milk boiling over on the stove. But how could Yasoda show so much interest in the boiling milk that she left Krishna unsatisfied and hungry? I'm reading that without my glasses. I'm not supposed to do that. No, I'm just joking. I could read without my glasses, but it's easier this way. Yasoda was so concerned for what Krishna would eat and drink that she could temporarily ignore Krishna. Only those under the sway of prema can understand or talk about the remarkable actions of one impelled by pure love for Krishna. No one else can understand these matters. So, in other words, the point is that, one could say, well, Yasoda shouldn't have done that. That wasn't right. She could have yelled to one of the maidservants or whatever. It wasn't improper. It was improper. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, it's not that it was improper, it was out of love. And so this is important. Just an important point. You probably know this, but I want to clarify that anytime there's any lila, and it looks like a devotee's doing something to satisfy themselves, like gopis are kissing Krishna or embracing Krishna. So we kiss and embrace because it gives us pleasure. We generally don't kiss and embrace to give another person pleasure. Or we don't neglect our baby and stop breastfeeding them and do something else in the kitchen. If we love them, it seems like we don't. Or it seems like I'm just going into the kitchen with the milk because I like the milk. Or in other words, the point is, it's early in the morning, so you can see my brain is trying. The gears are, excuse me, they're not firing completely. Unfortunately, yeah. So, anytime anything looks like anything other than love, you should just remind yourself that even though it may not look like love according to my limited perception or my material consciousness, whatever Yasoda does, whatever Radha, whatever the residents of Braj do, it's only out of love for Krishna. Even if it doesn't look like it, it's only out of love for Krishna. And pretty much, the idea is that everything everyone's doing in the material world is pretty much selfish. Even when it's religious or spiritual, until there's a high level of purity, it's pretty selfish. That's just that's how we understand things. It's just the way it is. You might say, oh, but okay, yes, there's some love here, but it's generally predominated by non-love. And you may see many great devotees acting out of love. Yeah, that's true, because they're great devotees. But generally, until we come to the stage of nishta or ruchi, the motives in doing service are mixed. It's not pure. But in Braj, there is no mixed motive, because pure devotional service is defined as not being mixed. So everything they do is out of love for Krishna, even though it doesn't look like it. And sometimes things in the material world look like love, like the mother's love for her child. It looks like love, but she doesn't have that love for all children. And a pure devotee would have that love for everyone, because they love Krishna, they'd have that love for everyone. So even though it's love in the pure material sense, or you could say she's purely serving her child and would give her life for her child, that's love, but it's not love for Krishna. And that's why Prabhupada said there's no love in this material world. He didn't mean that mothers don't love their kids. He meant that he was defining love not as the love for mother for her child of this world, but the love for a devotee, for Krishna. So, at least you should understand whatever Krishna does, even he's killing demons, it's all out of love, it's all for the benefit of that person. Whatever the devotee does, even though it looks selfish, it's only out of love for Krishna. The gopis are kissing Krishna to give Krishna pleasure, not out of the desire for personal sense gratification. That's important, because sometimes you're going to read pastimes and it's going to appear like Krishna's doing, like the devotees are doing that for sense gratification, but that doesn't happen in pure bhakti. There's no need to satisfy, there's no desire or need to satisfy one's senses. Okay. Should we read one more verse? Just keep everybody happy. If we read one more verse, it will be verse 6. It means we did 6 verses today. That's amazing. Being very angry and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, Krishna, with false tears in his eyes, broke the container of yogurt with a piece of stone. In other words, Yasoda left. Yasoda was turning the flame off the stove, and maybe cleaning up the milk. It didn't take that long. In that time, Krishna started breaking the pot. He was so frustrated. As soon as she left, he was frustrated. So Krishna did this, and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, he broke the pot with a stone, entered a room, and began to eat the freshly churned butter. We've been recommended to drink beet juice. Right? Is that what you said? Beet juice in the morning. Can't beat that, I guess. Okay, we'll try it. Everyone drink beet juice in the morning and see if it gives you energy. Krishna created so many wonderful things. Let's see what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. And now, Ganapati says he's going to be quiet. Yeah, we're going to see Ganapati if that's possible. You made a vow to be quiet. You have to keep that vow. So this is Vishwanath. Let's see. Prabhupada's purport: it is natural that when a child becomes angry, he can cry with false tears. So Krishna did this, and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, he broke the pot with the stone, entered a room and began to eat the freshly churned butter. So, to my knowledge, Krishna never misbehaved like this before. So this was a new event in their relationship. So this was text 6. Let's see the purport. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, though it was useless, Krishna shed tears, as this is the nature of a small child. Krishna used a stone to make a hole in the pot without making any sound. Well, that was a sound. How do you make a hole? Oh, I don't know. Somehow he made a hole. Then he went into another room and ate the butter made from the previous day's milk. Okay. We have to read another verse because it's action now. Mother Yasoda, after taking down the hot milk from the oven, returned to the churning pot. And when she saw that the container of yogurt was broken and that Krishna was not present, she concluded that the breaking of the pot was the work of Krishna. Purport. Seeing the pot broken and Krishna not present, Yasoda definitely concluded that the breaking of the pot was the work of Krishna. There was no doubt about it. Purport by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. After removing the hot milk from the stove, Yasoda returned to the churning spot. There she saw the sturdy, shining yogurt pot lying broken on the floor. The suffix ka is added to amatrakam, out of sympathy for its sorry state. Yasoda concluded that this was definitely the work of her son. Touching her forefinger to her nose, she started laughing. So she wasn't angry. Yasoda, of course, as many parents are amused by the funny activities of their children. So Yasoda was delighted. We can't end here. We have to end like with some conclusion, something. Krishna at that time was sitting on an upside-down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yasoda, upon seeing him, was very cautiously approached him from behind. In other words, he knows what he's doing is wrong, broke the pot, and now he's distributing the yogurt to the monkeys, and he's not supposed to do that. So he's looking all around. While he's doing it, he's looking. Here, monkey. Here, monkey. And he's looking because he doesn't want to be caught. So he's angry, he's crying, and he's scared. How is that possible for the Supreme Lord to be angry, crying, and scared? Well, if he wants to be, he can be, because the meaning of God is he can be whatever he wants. So if he wants to be angry, scared, and crying, he can be. Mother Yasoda was able to trace Krishna by following his butter-smeared footprints. Oh, funny. Wow. His feet were full of butter. Wow, there's an insight into the Leela. Did you know that? That in breaking the butter pot and getting the butter, somehow or other, he walked in the butter. Either the butter was dripping on the ground and he walked in it, or he got in the pot himself. It was a big pot. And now his feet are full of butter, and she could trace his little footprints. That's interesting. I didn't know that. She saw that Krishna was stealing butter, and thus she smiled. Meanwhile, the crows also entered the room and came out in fear. Thus Mother Yasoda found Krishna stealing butter, very anxiously looking here and there. So he was caught red-handed. Okay. What does Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur say? Yasoda found Krishna by following his butter-smeared footprints and hearing the jingling sound of his waist bells and the noises in the other room. Surmising that Krishna was eating butter, Yasoda's face broke into a smile. A few seconds later, she decided to go into the room. Isn't it interesting? What's so interesting about the commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is that he often describes things which are not described in the Bhagavatam. And question is, how does he know? Butter prints, yeah. She followed the butter prints. How does he know? Well, he's an intimate associate of Krishna who can see these leelas within his heart and describe those leelas to us. Things we don't know that aren't fully described in Bhagavatam. Interesting, right? So he's describing here. Surmising that Krishna was eating Mother Yasoda's face broke into a smile. A few seconds later, she decided to go into the room. But by that time, Krishna had gone out the back door and into the yard. See, this is all not there in the Bhagavatam. There Krishna sat cross-legged on top of an upside-down wooden mortar, of course that's there, for grinding spices due to fear of crows and other animals. The verse describes this, does it? The verse didn't describe the crows. After studying the butter pot hanging from the ceiling of the storeroom, Krishna brought it there. He was afraid of being beaten by his mother for having stolen the butter, so he was anxiously looking hither and thither, and looking for a path of escape. Seeing Krishna from inside the house, by craning her neck, Yasoda then very cautiously and silently approached him from behind so that Krishna could not see her and that she could catch him in her hands. So we can't end here. This is crazy. The way this story goes. It's time to end class, but I want to end on something like where you're not all left in suspense. So this is text 9. When Lord Krishna saw his mother stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar and began to flee as if very much afraid. Although yogis try to capture him as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances, they fail to reach him. But Mother Yasoda, thinking that the same Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him. In other words, nobody can catch Krishna, and now Yasoda's trying to catch him. She's trying to do the impossible. Yogis, mystics, want to catch Krishna as Paramatma. And with great austerities and penances, they try to approach him, yet they cannot. Here we see, however, that Krishna is going to be caught by Mother Yasoda and is running away in fear. This illustrates the difference between the bhakta and the yogi. Yogis cannot reach Krishna, but for pure devotees like Mother Yasoda, Krishna is already caught. Krishna was even afraid of Mother Yasoda's stick. This was mentioned by Queen Kunti in her prayers. Bhaya Bhavanaya Stitasya 1:831. Krishna is afraid of Mother Yasoda and yogis are afraid of Krishna. Yogis try to reach Krishna by Jnana Yoga and other yogas, but fail. Yet although Mother Yasoda was a woman, Krishna was afraid of her, as clearly described in this verse. And the verse Prabhupada's quoting Queen Kunti, maybe you know the verse, as Queen Kunti is saying, it's very bewildering, that even though fear personified is afraid of you, you are now running in fear of Yasoda. Yasoda had a stick. Do you know why Krishna was afraid? She had a stick. When she was coming down to see what was going on, well, actually she knew what was going on. There was Nanda Maharaj's cane, so she picked up his cane, his walking cane, which was, we call a stick. I guess it was a walking stick. She picked it up, so she had this. So she thought, well, we've got to put Krishna in his place, so if I have a stick, I'll just show him the stick. I'm not going to hit him, but I'll show him the stick. So the commentaries we'll read here, or maybe we won't read, but when Krishna saw that stick, that was like serious. And he was crying. So Yasoda says it's really bewildering that you would be afraid of Mother Yasoda when then even fear personified is afraid of you. So, of course, we understand that Yogamaya's position, Yogamaya's duty is to enhance the pastimes of Krishna to bring out the greatest amount of rasa and the greatest amount of love. Well, the reason I didn't whack you with my danda is I don't have a danda. But when I take sannyas, then I can whack you with my danda. Although sannyasis don't usually whack people with their dandas. It's not actually why they carry dandas. But in case they have to chastise the disciple, It could be useful. Although, generally, the spiritual master chastises with words, and so his words are his danda. And he chastises sparingly, not often. So why is Krishna crying? Well, Yogamaya, she orchestrates pastime, so Yogamaya takes over to make all these pastimes sweeter. So crying is what a normal child would do in this situation. So Yogamaya takes over, she makes Krishna cry. Now we had talked about this before, and a natural question comes. Was Krishna actually afraid? I mean, here comes Yasoda with his mother with a stick, he's a little boy. Was Krishna actually afraid? And the answer is maybe. You like that answer? Well, the answer is, as we explained before, if it's necessary for the Leela, then Yogamaya will cover Krishna and he'll not be feigning anymore, but will actually be afraid. Or Krishna may be conscious of the Leela and he may cry, as described here, feign tears, and that will enhance the Leela. So both things could go on because he could do any way he wants. So he could cry because he's afraid, or he could cry because he wants to feign tears to increase the rasa, or he could cry because Yogamaya makes him cry, and that increases the rasa. So Yogamaya is like the director. So she directs the Leelas, and so sometimes it's necessary for Krishna to forget his position as God, to make the Leela happen, and be afraid. And so Krishna's manifesting this fear, either consciously or under the influence of Yogamaya, forgetting his supreme position, because it will enhance the Leela and it will increase Mother Yasoda's love. So just as we said that the devotee, even though it looks like he might be doing something that seems selfish, like the gopis want to kiss Krishna, but it's never selfish. So Krishna will never do anything in his pastimes which is not enhancing the love of his devotees. So even if he's fearful or crying or chastising, whatever he's doing, it's enhancing the love of his devotees. So, on that happy note, it's now 5:30 a.m. in Alachua. We start a class at 4:15. And I get the strong feeling that there was a mix-up, because not one person from Australia came to this class. Or there's a storm in Australia and all the power in Australia is out and nobody could get online. But we will find out later today. It is Tuesday in Australia. It still is. Yeah, it's Tuesday evening. Anyway, I don't see anyone from Australia. We got Japan and South Africa and Lithuania and maybe India. I don't know. Gurunisha's not here, which means there was a miscommunication somehow. I don't know. There couldn't have been a miscommunication. We have Mauritius, we have London, or maybe still in Lithuania. Oh, we have Poland. Yeah, we're all over the place. Everywhere except Australia, where this class was destined to go. Amsterdam. Okay, all of you in Europe, I will make you feel very bad. Today, the high temperature in Alachua is maybe around 28 degrees or 30. Oh, Taiwan also. And Alachua all the way. We have someone all the way from Alachua. Oh yeah. Okay, Indra, just send me your email again. I spaced out. If I don't answer my email like within the first 10 seconds that I see it, it can get lost. Send me your email address again. I thought I sent it to you again. And it's got to be on Dandavats. You don't get it on Dandavats? Hare Krishna. Radhe, hey, 108 at Yahoo. Poland is 20. Wow, amazing. But we're 30, so we're 10 degrees better. For you, 30 is too hot. Right? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to sign off. And I assume there was a mistake or something happened. And this class will be probably scheduled. We'll hear from Sundari Radha and we'll find out. Okay? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki